Okay. Steve. Yes, please. All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We'll attempt to start. I think I'm going to lose my microphone any second off my big floppy ears. Let's give it a go. So thanks for joining us for this presentation entitled Reporting Against All of Your Progress, Data Sources, Easily and Quickly. I'm Stephen Oakes. I'm the Customer Accounts Manager for Cyber Science in Europe. I'm joined by my colleague, Dave Darby, who's our Senior Consultant, who's worked with us for about 35 years and helped implement hundreds of reporting and BI solutions. Hope you're having a good event. This is actually our first Pug back since COVID, so it's great to see everyone again. If you like what you see today and you'd like further information, please do come talk to us on the stand. We're friendlier than we look, honest. And if you'd like to talk to us about an evaluation copy of the software, please come and ask, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, the test drive, in just a minute. Or if you'd like a more detailed demonstration, drop off your business card and we'll get in touch and see if we can sort something out, because we're concentrating on a few key points today, so we won't be able to cover absolutely everything. But if you'd like more information, then please do get in touch. We're running a prize draw to win either £100 or 100 equivalent in your local currency for Amazon vouchers. So there's a comically large box here, which I will put on the desk at the end. It can't go on now because you won't be able to see Dave. And if you'd like to drop your business card or fill out a form, the odds are very good at the moment to win the 100 euros, pounds, whatever it is. Okay, so let's have a look at today's agenda. So first of all, we'll talk a little bit about the challenge that we set out to solve with Cyberquery. Then we'll look at what Cyberquery might be able to do for you as a Progress user or vendor or consultant. Then we'll look at some typical end-user requirements, talk about a couple of customer testimonials or custom stories, and then hand over to Dave for the demonstration. But more about that in a minute. Sorry, am I on your way? Okay. Right, so just before we start, we develop and sell a reporting, BI, and analytics solution called Cyberquery. We're not here to tell you that what you're doing currently is wrong or bad, or that using ABL, Progress, SQL, or anything else is wrong, or that you shouldn't do it, or that exporting to Excel is wrong. But what we would like to try and do is suggest ways in which Cyberquery can add some real value to your applications, whether they're in-house developed systems or whether you're a vendor selling your own solution. So we'll look at some ways in which you might be able to help users get the information that they need. Oh, this is going to come off. There we go. I've got a thing falling off my ear the whole time. Here we go. So to set the scene a little bit, I'd like to share this statement from our managing director. It says, managers at all levels tell us that it's too hard and too time consuming to get all the information they need, when they need it, and in the format they need. And we spent the last 45 years perfecting our unique solution to this problem. And that's really the challenge that we're addressing, trying to make it easier for you to get the information that you and your customers need out of the application easily and when you need it. So, how might Cyberquery be able to help? Well, with Cyberquery, you can add significant value to your application. So whether you provide an off-the-shelf application, a customized application, or an in-house developed solution, Cyberquery might be able to help add value and reinvigorate your application and prolong its life. Users might begin to see the application in a new light. They might find it easier to get information out. If they find it easier to get information out, they might start to see the point of using it properly and putting good data in. They become more invested in the application, and it might even extend the life of the application. Users are less likely to get restless and start looking around for something else if they can get access to everything they need. If you're a vendor, who knows, they may continue paying your yearly fees for longer. The perceptions of the application might change if they no longer need to access information through a sequence of screens or complicated keystrokes, or run an extract to Excel and perform manual ETL on it, or have to request the report from IT or the vendor and wait and then ask for changes when it's not right, and then wait again. and they can do all of this much quicker with Cyberquery. And Cyberquery is designed for end-user reporting. End-user reporting and data interrogation is mouse-driven, so users can quickly become more interactive with the data and get what they need when they need it. Hopefully all of this means that your users will be happier, more content, and see you and the application in a more positive light, let's say. Cyberquery supported progress in OpenEdge for over 20 years now. It's always been extremely fast at hitting the live data. Speed is always key, but it can also access the data held in any application or database, not just restricted to Progress, or any combination of applications together. So it can hit live data, stage data, or both, on-prem data, hosted data, or both. And this is mainly facilitated via our powerful data dictionary, which is our meta layer, and Dave's going to show us a little bit more about this in just a minute. So for example, with Cyberquery you can report against any Progress applications, any ERP, CRM packages, financial packages, legacy applications, and so on. Get the idea. We've got about 4,000 customers using Cyberquery at the moment, about 1,500 of which are Progress sites, the biggest of which would be about 800 using the Progress-powered application QAD that used to be called MFG Pro, that some people may have heard of. We've also got a number of different partnerships with different Progress application vendors as well. Okay. So I'd just like to set the scene a little bit and talk about typical requirements that Progress and other end users often have. Hopefully these will sound familiar. So typically people are asking for easy access to the information locked in the Progress data. May also require access to other applications as well. They're interested in the type of charts, reports, and analytics the system can do, how they can be scheduled and deployed, and output to various formats like Excel, PDF, HTML, etc. And drill downs, being able to see the underlying detail underneath the headlines. A quick Google would show you that there are lots of reporting and BI solutions around, hundreds and hundreds of them, but none have the power and functionality of Cyberquery. None have been the result of a 45 years continuous development and refinement. Hopefully you'll agree that it shows. With Cyberquery you can create the whole range of reporting and BI output. With just the one integrated solution you can create the following and more, and this isn't an exhaustive list, this is just an idea. We don't have time to jump in and out all the different formats today. So everything from static lists to dynamic web-based reports with drills, to complex financial statements, to logistical reports like bills and materials, and again, that's it, to sales analysis. This is using our portal called Launchpad, which we'll see more of in a minute, through to forms. Just to give you an idea, there's a couple of real-world forms that customers have, like printed stationery type things that customers are using. Through to Excel output, and it's not just a data dump, we output formulas and formatting as well. And then taking Excel integration one step further is the Excel add-in. This is where Excel drives Cyberquery, so if you see the yellow cells at the top, the user can enter their parameters, and then Cyberquery goes away, gets the data, populates Excel. So if you've got people that live in an Excel world and will never leave, they don't necessarily have to, but what you can do is add some structure behind that and make sure they've got a single set of approved extract routines to populate the reports. Through to graphical output like charts, KPIs, and dashboards, just a few quick examples. And then finally through to ad hoc reporting. Ad hoc reporting data exploration is mouse-driven with Cyberquery, and there's a reasonable sales analysis there with 3 quick drags and drops. So that's just to give you an idea. So back to our list. We've already talked about and seen a couple of examples of dashboards and KPI output. We've got lots of other different examples, so if we haven't covered something you're interested in, please just let us know. We'll see what we can do later. Through to pricing, cost effectiveness, always important for everybody. Our pricing policy is clear and transparent, and we offer a number of different approaches, from a subscription-based approach through to a traditional license fee with yearly support. And if you were a vendor, we could work with you to come up with something that works in your environment for for how you sell your products, and something that your salespeople understand and can sell as well. Okay, I'd like to share a couple of user experiences. So first up, there's a few words from a fairly recently signed up customer, Pay Complete. They do solutions in the financial, retail and gaming and amusement space. And Charlie, their VP of Information Technology, shared this quote. He says that they identified there was a substantial gap in their ERP during their implementation process around reporting and the ability of users to pull information themselves. They met us at a user convention and haven't looked back since. He says the team are a pleasure to work with and the product is very user-friendly, and after a couple of sessions the end users were able to pull and make their own reports, giving them the independence and enablement they needed. Okay, it's a good quote there from Charlie. I'd just like to, they presented for us at a user group recently, so I'd like to see if I can kind of do justice to his words and share some more information on that. So the problem they had was during the sales process and early implementation, they were under the impression that the ERP would fulfill all of their reporting requirements, and it wasn't until really late in the day that it became apparent that this wasn't the case. They needed something quickly because the out-of-the-box reporting wasn't working. They tended to be PDF, they needed Excel. They found huge holes in it that would be expensive to fix and that would cause delays to the implementation, or time-consuming manual workarounds. And the warehouse provided by the vendor was too complicated, and they didn't have the skill sets to get it working. And they also said that checking data migration without an easy-to-use interactive tool was very difficult and cumbersome. So they had a look at Cyberquery and decided to give it a go. And the main benefits that they listed was now they don't need any development skills. Most end users can create their own reports, and they've actually got one person per department who's been assigned that task to look at reporting. They liked our can-do attitude. They liked the fact that Cyberquery is so productive. They were able to produce 30 fully featured tested reports in 3 days that enabled them to meet their go-live objectives. So from that point of view, job done. And he was very impressed by this. And he says that support is fast and excellent. And I'd just like to add to that with some empirical data. We send out a survey after every support engagement, and of the people that replied, 93% say the overall support they get is excellent. So we're very pleased with that. And if you expand that to include good and excellent, then it goes up to 99%. So don't get too much better than that. We're still chasing that 1%, but we'll get it in the end. Okay, so some more benefits that they get. With Cyberquery, they're not just tackling simple lists and top 10s and things like that. They're tackling real complicated reports as well. For example, their VAT reporting in Poland is complex and strict, and Cyberquery has made this process accurate and repeatable. They can easily access multiple data sources. A particular area of reporting is against data from 3 disparate data sources, and this one report saves over 20 hours a month that they're currently spending to gather the data together and get it right. And they can now automate the daily KPIs and metrics, so everything's where it should be when it's needed, rather than people scrabbling around trying to find things. And as I said earlier, the business can now fulfill its own reporting requirements. They're not reliant on any third parties. And he likes the data dictionary. The data dictionary, when we deliver it, is fully, it describes how the database hangs together, the fields, the joins, everything else. And it arrives fully configured and pretty much works out the box. And Dave will tell us a little bit more about that. Okay, next up, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Antico Flooring, who make luxury vinyl tiles. They've been using Cyberquery for a while. They've got about 90,000 reports that they publish each month, which is a sizable amount, and 15 of a particular type, wall boards, which I'll show you one of in just a minute. So I asked Antico to describe what Cyberquery does for them, and here's what they said. So they were struggling getting the information they needed out of QAD, which I mentioned is a progress-powered application. It's a fairly complicated OpenEdge database with about 1,200 or so tables in it. And they chose Cyberquery because it offered them a quick report development cycle. So reporting was very slow with lots of manual processes. Cyberquery, they can quickly write the reports in-house. They do it in IT as well, but again, they can empower their end users. They like the fact it's got an intuitive interface, familiar drag and drop, and wizards help you get started. But they also like the fact, and this is something else Dave's going to show us, that there's a language editor as well. So every time you create a drag and drop report, it's creating a language. So you can go into the language editor and interact with that and do it the old-fashioned screen way if you want to as well. You're not just restricted to the drag and drop. So it gives you a bit more flexibility there. They like the fact they could, are we on the right slide? Can we move on? No, we were. Yeah, they can produce reports in any format they want. And they do a lot of ad hoc reporting as well. And ad hoc users jump in, write a report, and make it available by the portal that I showed you, Launchpad, for others to use. They needed to be able to pull data from a fair number of different databases. We've only done this once or twice before. It's not paying attention. So they've got 8 live databases, various extracts, and various applications as required, as you can see. And there's a mix of hosted and on-prem databases there. So they needed something that was powerful enough to handle all of the varied data sources. So the big wins with Cyberquery, the speed and frequency of reporting. For example, the weekly sales report used to take until 10 AM on Tuesday to publish. It's now ready by 7 AM on a Saturday. It's all automated now, so the business can see its pipeline and respond to issues sooner. And the quality of the data was one of the things that they remarked on. It's got better. When you're reporting against it with something like Cyberquery, there's no hiding places in the data. So if there's any issues in the data, they're very visible. So this led to them got on an exercise where they went in, sorted out all the data, and it's resulted in the overall quality of the data is now much higher. So instead of having a spreadsheet here and a spreadsheet there, and this coming from MFG Pro, it's all in the right place where it should be now. And consequently, users began to take ownership of the data, improving the overall quality. And as a result, reporting and access to information is now consistent across the company, which is good. So here's the one of the wall boards that I mentioned. They'd never had access to information in this format before. It's a production line productivity dashboard. It's got various KPIs, targets and actuals for each shift. And they've got it on several large screens in the factory so people can see how their shift is performing against target, against the other shifts. And it's proven to be a great motivator for the workforce there. The different shifts come in and see what the last shift did and try and beat it, that kind of thing. Okay, so just to summarize before I hand over to Dave, whether you're an executive looking at dashboards and KPIs, or an end user exploring with the mouse and entering parameters, or a power user slicing and dicing, or a developer writing reports and dropping to code level, Cyberquery's got an interface for all the different types of user. It's got the power to produce just about any type of report and output that you need. Performance-wise, it's server-based, so all the hard work is done there on the server, and speed has always been one of our prime concerns. We're always trying to make things faster and faster. Security can be implemented at any level that you need. As I mentioned earlier, cost-wise, we've got flexibility to offer pricing that works in your environment. And more importantly, in all these things, it works, and we'd love to prove it to you, which brings me on to my last slide, and nicely onto the test drive. So if you do like what you see here today, we have a free evaluation called the test drive. So what we do is we install the software for you. We set up your data dictionary to point at your database or databases. And we've done it a lot, so it doesn't take very long. Then we ask you to specify some key reports, which we then implement for you and get you to approve. And then we help you evaluate the solution for 30 days with regular meetings, demos and review sessions. And at the end of the 30 days, you can decide to keep the software and become a customer, and then we sort out your training. Whether you decide to keep the software or not, there's no charge at all for any of this until the point of training. So if you decide not to keep it, no charge. If you decide to go ahead with it, then we sort your training and start from there. So if this is of interest, let us know, and we'll have a chat about it, see if we can set something up. So I'm going to hand over to Dave for his demo. So Dave's going to look at how Cyberquery can be used to create ad hoc reports, and other output and drill downs, and using the visual and the drag and drop editors. He's going to have a look at the metadata layer, the data dictionary that I mentioned, and how you can use it to report across multiple data sources. And he's going to show how you can seamlessly incorporate other data sources into your OpenEdge reporting program. Okay. Oh, hold on, sorry.
Hello. Testing. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to show you, first of all, my progress database. You may recognize the screen. Okay. As you can see, I've got two copies of a database, Sports 2019 and Sports 2020. It's actually just a copy of 2019, but I want to show you reporting against multiple databases of the same structure. We've got a number of customers who use this feature. Cyberquery just does it transparently. You say, read this, that, and that database together as though they were one, and it can produce a report across all of them. So one of our customers has got 15 different progress databases around the world on different servers. They run one report, and it does an end-of-month report consolidated for all of those different countries. So that's something that quite a number of our customers make use of, this ability of Cyberquery to read multiple databases, either on the same server or on different servers. So we'll be having a look at that in a minute. Let me show you logging into Cyberquery. So Cyberquery, first of all, is server-based. We support SSL, obviously, so if you're running, on a cloud server somewhere, you want it to be secure. And we support Cyberquery running on both Windows and Linux, and a couple of other proprietary Unix systems, AIX and HP Unix currently. And you provide your credentials. We also support single sign-on, both Windows and Linux, so if your credentials are authenticated through to the server, you'll just be presented with your list of applications on the Cyberquery server itself. So once you've logged in, you get a list of the applications that you've been given access to. Got some progress applications here, my Sports 2020 database. Got Cyberquery with QAD. Now, as you'll see, there are different parts to the Cyberquery software. Cyberquery is the report writer element. That's what you use to create the content from the database. The data dictionary manager edits this data model that we have of your database. So we pull in the data definitions from your data from OpenEdge. And Cyberquery can automatically create relationships between some of the tables if the naming has been used nicely in your database. So you've got customer number on your order header, you've got customer number on your customer file instead of customer. Okay, if it's the same column name and it's the same data type, it assumes it's going to be able to join them. Okay, but you can tell it not to assume that and define all the relationships manually if you need to. Quite often, an application will have their own map of the database and the table relationships. So you can update the dictionary using text files. So we've got various scripts and stuff that allow us to build data dictionaries for various different ERPs. So that data dictionary maps your database. It also provides a security to the tables within that database, so you can restrict users to different company numbers if company was a column on your table. You can also restrict users to particular databases, or you can also restrict which columns users can see within that database by using something called viewpoints. And viewpoints allow you to break up the database into perhaps different business areas. So for purchasing, they will see the tables they need. For finance, they'll see another set of tables. Sales team will see yet another set of tables that they can use for reporting. So they'll only be able to use the tables that you've given them access to. Okay, so that's the data dictionary. The Launchpad is our presentation portal, and you can publish information into there. Users can go into there, see a report they like, they can run it, output it to Excel or email it to someone. So we'll have a look at the Launchpad in a minute. And the publish wizard is just a wizard, it's just that. It allows you to publish information into the Launchpad. So those are the main development tools, the report writer itself and the publish wizard. The dictionary manager is really a sort of system admin tool, but you can make changes in there. So for instance, you can have derived fields in the dictionary, which is not really a column on the table, but is made up of, as an expression of multiple columns on that table or related tables. As you can see, the other application QAD's got some extra bits and bobs around the outside, other ways of presenting the data, the dashboard, the query workbench. The Q Director is our schedule service, and with that you can set up reports to be emailed to people in a variety of different formats. So let's start having a look at writing a report in Cyberquery. So I'm going to start off on my Sports 2020 database. When you first launch Cyberquery, it starts in the editor you previously used, whether that's the visual or language editor. The visual editor, the drag and drop interface, always starts with a wizard. Takes you through the stages of creating a report. You don't have to go all the way through the wizard, you just have to select the main table that you're going to report on. So the first option that you're given is to choose the type of report you want to create. There are three basic types of text reports. So, well, not text. Yes, three types of text reports and a chart. So a list is usually one line in your table is one line on your page of output. A summary report is like a pivot table. It's consolidated data, and you can group that data, usually numeric data or counts, into buckets and going across the page and down the page. And we'll have a look at that. A plot is simply that summarized or grouped data presented as a chart. And labels are another text style report. You choose the laser stationery you've got. There'll be a little label on the box, says L3151 or something. You select that, which will be a 3x9 laser label stationery, and it will fit the data to match that stationery that's in your printer. Useful things like address labels, product labels. We support 2D barcodes, you know, the QR codes. You can print those on your labels. So let's start off with a list report. At this stage, it takes you to choosing what we call the domain file, and this is the table you base the report on. In SQL terms, it would be the first table mentioned in a from clause in a select statement. But yeah, this would be the main table that you're basing your loop on in ABL. So we're going to choose a table here called order line, and we can see the various columns on there. Let's just choose a few of them. We're going to choose order line, line number, item, price, and quantity, and drag that onto here. Now, I can just select those fields and click finish at this stage, or I can go through the rest of the stages of the wizard. Now, that might be quite useful. Let's do that. So the next part of the wizard allows you to choose the sort categories. Now, if you choose not to sort the information, it'll be just whatever order it's returned from the database. So I can sort it by anything. I can sort it by the name of the database, I can sort it by the order number and the line number. And that's probably the order it would actually come back. But just to make sure. Then we've got a record selection condition. So this is where you specify which records you want to select. Let's select records where the price is greater than, let's say, 10. Okay. So it's bigger than $10. We're going to choose all of those. And we can click finish at this stage, and it does our report. Now, it takes a couple of seconds for some reason to connect to Progress on my laptop, perhaps because it's not at home, but actually it was quite fast. And so once it's connected, though, and it's got that connection between Cyberquery and Progress, subsequent queries are usually very quick. As you can see, it's just listed the information. On our left-hand side, we've got an options list which shows the tables that our order line, which has got the dot in it, is related to. So we can look at the order header. We can drag the order date onto there. You can see the date. We can look at the item file. We can drag the item description on. Let's put it next to the item number. Okay. Now, one of the things you can see is that where you've got a relationship where there's many to one, so many order lines to one order header, or many item numbers to one item, like here, suppress the duplicate values. Now, on a text report, that might be all right, but if you're going to export to Excel, you really want those duplicate values to be displayed. So we can just unsuppress, display duplicate values, and then they will all be displayed. So that's what we call a report property. It changes the appearance or behavior of the report as a whole. If you right-click on here, I can go into something called item properties. That changes the behavior or appearance of that individual print item. So on that order number, it's a number, but really I don't want commas in this. So let's tell it to suppress commas in numbers, and then we just get the number itself. Now, I can do some fairly clever stuff on here. I can multiply items. If I highlight two of those, I can double click and change the heading to line value. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I've very quickly got, you know, a halfway readable report. If you want to make the report look pretty, okay, there are buttons up at the top here that operate on this report pane. So I'm using the reporting tool at the moment, which allows me to make edits to the contents of the report. But there's also a drill tool, a paint tool, a picture tool, and a border tool. Let's have a look at the border tool first. I can put borders on here. And I can look at the border properties, and I can put striping on. And I can make it an invisible border, and then you just get left with the stripes, which is quite a nice effect, especially if you've got a wide report. Using the paintbrush, you can change the colors, the styles, etc. So if I highlight the column headings, I can make them italic, I can make them blue. Okay. And the picture tool adds pictures, so like logos and bitmaps to your report. We can also print images that are actually embedded in the data, and you can choose the depth and the height of that image to print on a report. So if you've got images in your database, you can print them in Cyberquery. Let's go to the end of my report. One of the things you can see here is we've got a total at the end of the report called report total. Total of our line value is fine, but total of prices is a bit useless, really. So let's switch back to our reporting tool and suppress column totals for the price. And then we've only got our report total on the line value. I mean, you may want it on quantity too. So there's my report. If I want to put it into Excel or PDF or HTML or CSV or email it, I can just press one of these buttons. Let's put it into Excel, see what it does. And here we go, open my vtemp. And as you can see, it's exported. It's removed what we call the built-in page headings and the pages. It's removed all the pages, but it's kept the formatting. And if we go to the end, we've got our report total at the end there. It's a formula. So if you've got a pivot table type thing and you've got column totals on the right-hand side, those will also be formulas as well as the report totals at the bottom of the page and any subtotals. So it does try to put in formulas where appropriate. Okay, So that's my, let's close that and minimize that. Export to Excel. Let's have a look now at a sum report. You can see I've got my record selection window over here showing me my record selection condition. I can add multiple conditions to that with either ands and ors and nots included. So you can have very complex record selection conditions. There's a button here which actually reveals a bit more information about the things that are in your report. So this shows what I'm sorting by, shows my record selection down here. It shows my top of and end of sections, so I can do things at sort breaks in the report. This is the body of my report over here, list report. If I convert this to a sum, it will convert this to a summary report and look pretty much as it is. But if I select line value, just that one column, and convert it to a sum report, it's going to summarize, just convert the selected item. It's going to summarize all of those into one page. And you can see it's done groups too. So it's done a group by in SQL and generated the group. The reason there are two groups is, I mentioned it's actually reading two databases which are a copy of each other. So if I pull the actual database name, you will see it's reading my sports 2019 and 2020 database together. So it's just duplicating the data. And you can see it's the same data there. So I could say, well, look, just select the data that is sports 2020, and there, I've got it. So you can just drag and drop it. Let's try dragging and dropping some other things onto the report. So if I take my order date and put it in there, you can see the order date is 2019. If I drag it again, it'll put the month number, and if I drag it on again, it'll do it by the complete date. One thing I haven't mentioned yet, Cyberquery's got complete unlimited undo and redo capability, and you can go backwards and forwards and save the queries that you had at any stage. So I can go back here, I can go back there. That order date, if I go into the properties, you can see on my sort tab, I can sort not just by year, I can sort by the quarter, I can sort by the year and the month. I can also use ISO year and ISO week. So there's all sorts of things that you can do when you're sorting. So let's just include the order date. I'm going to drag this off. I don't need the database name. Now I've got my sum report of sales. This is just a very simple report, but I can convert this to a chart in the same window, and I've got a bar chart initially. I can convert this to any chart type, so I can have a line chart, an area chart, step, combination, whatever. Pie chart. Let's have a pie chart, and I can show some data values. Okay. You can maximize that, see what it looks like. Okay. So let me get out of here now. I'm going to do a new report at this stage, and I'm going to show how Cyberquery can include data from any data source. So you can include data within your database by simply dragging and dropping a spreadsheet, a CSV file, XML file, JSON onto Cyberquery, and it will analyze that as a data source. And then it gives you some options what you can do with it. So this might be some ad hoc data. Somebody's created a budget in Excel, and they want to compare it to their data in their database. So we've got some data here. It's analyzed it, and once it's told you, what that data is, you can decide what you're going to do with it. So the default is to create what we call a query database, a high-performance data store on the Cyberquery server. So it uploads that data to the server, and then other users will be able to report against that as though it were part of your database. You can also import that definition into the data dictionary, which allows you to create relationships between that data and other data in your database. I haven't got the option yet, create a progress table, an OpenEdge table, and populate it, but that might be a nice one. You can just copy it raw as it is onto the Cyberquery server, because we can read raw XML, JSON, Excel spreadsheets, etc. directly. So let's create a query database. I'll do it in a shared area so other users are able to see it too. And I'll just click Finish. So once it's done that, it will generate a list report. And let's hide those so you can just see the data. So it's got a 1,000-page report of that list data. And again, like I did earlier, you can highlight different areas. Let's summarize the sales by region. Let's not group it by that, convert it to a sum. Okay, so that summarized that 1,000 pages into one page, but it's using my query database now, which is stored on my server. And I can add other information into here. So let's have a look. Let's put the product category in. Let's split it across the page by the order date. I've got a bit more data in here than just 5 months. So at this stage, you can see, let's select it where the region is Canada. And you can see out my record selection condition. I can create a pick list of that. And you can effectively do the same thing when you publish this. You can create selections that the user can pick values from. Let's do it as a radio button rather than checkboxes. So this allows them to select a single value. As you can see, as I'm clicking that, the report is changing. Let's have a look at this and make it a bit more interesting. I can rank this data. So because it is consolidated data, I can then sort it again by the total sales value. You can see now it's ranked that data in that column there. Let's see what difference that is year on year. So let's insert a copy of that item and then show it as a percentage. Okay, and once we've got it as a percentage, maybe it'd be nice to see that percentage as a percentage of the prior year, so we can see how it changes year on year if you do a sales analysis. So I can go into the percentage properties. You see by default it's actually a percentage of the report. It adds up to 100% down the bottom right-hand corner. But you can show it as a percentage of the previous across value and as a percentage difference, plus or minus. And now you can see with plus or minus percentage change year on year. To make it more visible, rather than showing it as a number, let's go and show that as a bullet chart. And if I show it as a bullet chart, you can see where you've got green, there's a nice increase in sales. Where it's red, you know, it's not as good. And if you want to look at different areas, you can click on that. Now, the problem with central US is there's some big outliers there. So that's 1,286% increase. So maybe we want to scale down the maximum and minimum amounts, percentages that are displayed on the bullet chart. So go into that bullet chart and look at the properties. You can specify a minimum value. Let's say the minimum value is minus 200%. Okay, and the maximum value is plus 200%. You don't need a plus sign. Click OK. Then, where you've got a big outlier, you can see there's a stripe through the bar. And you can hover your cursor over there and see what the actual percentage is. but it just makes the chart more readable. Okay, so you can really do fairly complex analyses of data really quickly using Cyberquery. It's got this built-in layout that makes the reports look good. Okay, let's go back and have a look at presentation of reports. So the Launchpad, I'll show you the Launchpad against my snapshot of the database, which is on a query database. This is a sales map, and that's against that Sports 2000 data. So you can go there. It's actually using OpenStreetMap as a background, so you can actually go and see, you know, each town in there. But if you hover your cursor over a region, it brings up at the top right there what we call a hover report. And that hover report is just a breakdown of whatever you're hovering over. So Arkansas has got a bit more, and so you can see sales broken down by product category. So this is from the sports database. Okay. So we can do maps, and that's the only thing I've got in that Launchpad. Let's have a look at a different Launchpad. I can show you some other reports quickly. Okay, so Launchpad, you can publish charts and KPIs with hyperlinks. Now, hyperlinks allow you to drill down into the data to reveal more data underneath. You can keep drilling down. There are various types of hyperlinks you can use with Cyberquery and different ways of displaying reports. So you can drill down into invoices. You can go right down to the invoice details if you like. And then if you had a scan of that invoice in a different application, which is accessible via URL, you could embed that into your Cyberquery report, which would open the viewer for the invoice, and you could see the scan of the actual invoice. Okay. So all of these have got hyperlinks. You can drill down into the information and go back to the previous report. So that's just the landing page, some quick KPIs to have a look at. Those KPIs, if it involves a large amount of data, you could typically create them overnight so that they're static, or use a consolidated data. So create a consolidation of the data down to the level that you need it so they run really quickly. Because you don't want to be clicking on a drill down and waiting for 5 minutes while it reads 50 million rows from your table. Okay, on the left-hand side, we've got a browse window, and this shows different sort of business areas, and you can see I've got different types of reports published into here. You've seen this is a Cyberquery report. Cyberquery reports you can export into different formats, view as a spreadsheet, HTML or PDF. We also export to XML, JSON, text, CSV, but not from within the Launchpad. We've got charts, so we've got a chart here. You can hover over these things. We've got some tooltips on there, which appear by default on the charts. PDF documents produced by Cyberquery, some invoices. Obviously Excel. I'm not going to click on that. It'll download and want me to open it again. That is similar to the sales dashboard I did a bit earlier, but slightly more complicated. Okay. The second section on the left-hand side, inventory. These reports are all been published with the ability to run them again. So you can see an example of whenever it was run, but you can run it again. It's got a run button. And in this case, I could just select jewelry and hit run, and then I'd get a report of the jewelry and their current stock levels. Okay. So here's another type of hyperlink which pops up a new window to run the query in. Marketing. You can actually use the Launchpad to present any information. You can Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, Excel forms in there, and the Launchpad will serve them up for your end users. A sales area is another style of hyperlink where it opens a different report in a different frame. So you can give it a target of a named frame, and it will open up a report in that frame. There's also a few different types of reports in here. So I've got another map. This is just hasn't got that background bitmap. So this is a heat map style. We also do bubble maps, and the other type of map we do is a marker map, where it gives you a latitude, longitude, an actual pinpoint position on the map. We also support eastings and northings, if anyone's ever heard of those. Not used very often. Okay, so you can see some extra commands over here. We've got a top 10 states chart. And if I have a look at that chart, I've got the top 10 states. I might want to change this to, I don't know, top 5 regions, okay? So I can either clone or edit this chart, and if I clone it, it's actually come up in the language editor. And that is the sum total of the language used to create that particular chart. But I can change it easily enough in here. So rather than having the state name, you can see the state name over here, let's drag the region name in. This is a different database, but I can drag my region into there, and now it's got my region name. So it's the highest 10 regions. We don't actually need the highest 10. Let's have a look at the properties of that. If you have a look at the ranking tab, you can rank it, you can limit it to a number of characters. I wanted the top 5 regions. Okay, let's click OK down there. Now I've got the top 5 regions, put everything else into a category called Other. Thank you. So that is just changing a report. Now I'm not going to save this because I don't want to mess up my Launchpad. We'll go back to the sales area. Spreadsheets, you can use Cyberquery from within Excel. So we've got an Excel add-in for Cyberquery and allows you to plug reports into your Excel spreadsheets. So I'm going to open here sales charts. I'm going to enable external connections. I've got some blank charts over here at the moment, but a bit telling, I've got the region data and some sales rep data on those 2 tabs. Let's go to my data tab, or Cyberquery tab. Let's refresh all of those things. It's cached my credentials. And you can see it's populated the sales data and the region data, and now I've got my Excel charts in the front. But that could be quite a lot of data that you're pulling in from Cyberquery. It's quite easy to pull in data from Cyberquery. You say insert a report. Yes, I want to insert it. You have to confirm the application and thing that you're using. Then you can look for your report that you want to embed, and it just embeds it in Cyberquery. If I want to see my sales report for all customers, I can go down there, and then I've got that report for all customers. If I change it to a particular state, let's change it to Colorado. And then I'll just get the customers in Colorado. So it's like a dynamic link to the Cyberquery report from within Excel. Okay, let's get out of there. I won't save that. Okay, last but not least, I've got a suppliers area in my Launchpad, and there's a button there which is for subscriptions. So if you see a report, outstanding purchase orders, and you say, oh, I must have that report every Monday afternoon so I can have a look at it, you can subscribe to that report You can see when it's run. It's going to run today at 16:23. It's actually, no. It's next due on the 21st at 9:37, repeats every day. But you could choose a different frequency. You can say, I want it then, and I want it once a week. And I want it as an Excel spreadsheet, and there's my email address, and I'm going to subscribe to that. And it creates a job in the queue director against that publication and says, update this publication, send it to this guy once a week. Or when you can see all of your subscriptions, go back into there, you can unsubscribe from them if you want to. Okay. So that works in conjunction with that schedule service to send reports to people. When you publish something into the Launchpad, a report, then you can choose whether or not it's going to be automatically updated by QDirect. You can see this one is being, no you can't. Okay, that one is not being automatically updated, but it should be. Okay. A couple of other things. So this is a composite report with Cyberquery. It's actually 3 or 4 reports in one. There's a heading there. There's some key metrics, statistics, market share, and then a revenue report underneath. And that's showing the use of spark lines and bullet charts within a report. Okay. A composite report like that, you can't export to Excel presently, but you can export it to PDF. We can produce report packs from Cyberquery in both Excel and PDF format. Here's an example of a PDF report pack. So you can combine multiple reports together. This might be something you want to present at a board meeting or something. So it's got company totals, profit and loss for the group, balance sheet, and then different sections for each of the companies underneath. So something like that could be quite useful. And let's also have a look, we've just got time, have a look at the customer service. So some different types of hyperlinks. You can get a whole menu of hyperlinks, so you can drill down into orders, go back and you can drill down into customer details, go to their website. So there you can have multiple hyperlinks on a single item. Also different styles of hyperlink. I can generate an email by clicking on a hyperlink over here, Mr. Harrop, and I can send him an email. You've exceeded your credit limit. So it's pulled that information from the database, done a mail to URL, and it invoked it from Cyberquery. So you can approve that, add your signature, send it off to your customer. Okay, I'm not going to. There might be an example.com somewhere. Okay. And yeah, you can attach hyperlinks to virtually anything. Headings, text, images in your report. Here's a hyperlink on inventory valuation. I can click on one of these and get an inventory valuation for different product categories below. Okay. So that brings me to the end of my demonstration today. It was a very brief demonstration of Cyberquery's abilities. If you've got any questions? If not, please feel free to stay behind and chat to us or come visit us on our stand. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
I was just wondering if you have I guess you support not just Progress.
We support other databases too, yeah. So you can integrate data from
but that
SQL.
wasn't my question. If you have, we can take a Progress database as an example. If you have some security built into it, for example, with fine triggers, only you should see, you could only see, you shouldn't see all data. If you're, depending on which user you are, you only see some data.
Yes.
How do you manage
We can replicate those in the data dictionary. You can put the rules in the data dictionary, so you can filter what data the user can see based on who the user is.
Your
Yes.
information.
Yeah.
But do you have to have the fine triggers in the reporting tool as well? Because they can be, it can be very sensitive.
Are the triggers in ABL, or are they in the
In the,
SQL?
no, in the dictionary,
In the dictionary.
database, the fine triggers.
Okay.
So they will not work with SQL.
That's a good question. I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Hmm.
But I see a lot of security issues.
Hmm.
So it's but that's not just with your reporting tool. It's when you want to aggregate data, when you want to look at data, it's how do you handle who sees what, and
Yes.
how you transport the data and where the data is stored.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we do have features in the product so that, for instance, people can be restricted to just one company or just see data for their branch. And you can do it based on users or groups of users. So we've got group and user security built into the application.
But the fine triggers is a very specific question.
Okay.
Because that's one
I'll
thing that's good with the progress database. That you can have fine triggers and you can that is close to the database. And
Okay,
but they don't work with SQL.
right. Yeah, at the moment you would have to replicate that code
Okay. And that would
in
be
the
good
Cyberquery
because they are-
database. And we could probably read it in, actually, and define the rules in the data dictionary for you. Okay.
In the triggers.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.